It's just amazing how many of you came to see the film tonight. I hope you enjoy the film in this sometimes difficult circumstances, but I hope the film gives you a lot of positive energy.
In the beginning of the movie, we see a pregnant woman, and then at the last part too.
It's one of the sculptures my father made when my mother was pregnant for the first time. So it's my first portrait. I'm in there before I was born, and in some way I thought that it was an important image, not for myself or for my mother, but because of the fact that it symbolizes his choice in favor of life, in favor of creation.
Είναι ένα γλυπτό που έκανε ο πατέρας.
He always said to me that the hands became so important for him as symbols of life when he was in prison, because you only see the hands from the outside of the prison and locked to the bars. It's a pity that my father couldn't come with me to Thessaloniki, but he is working in Belgium on an exhibition. I recently finished a new short documentary, and it's called Città dell'Arte, the city of art. I think art has a really important role in the coming years. I think there was a period in the past where I think like maybe 2,000 years ago, if you wanted to solve problems in reality, you had to become a farmer, make extra food for the children. I think 100 years ago, if you wanted to solve problems for humanity, you had to become a scientist, because we had to find out the viewers and whatever. And then, like 20, 30 years ago, during Vietnam War, you had to become a journalist to save the world. I think right now we have to move on, because right now, when you are a journalist, they just kill you anyway, because you're part of the power, you're part of the repression system. Now I think the artist has the liberation and has the freedom to stand up and to take that responsibility. The first thing they always ask me, and how did your father react? What did your father say?
Το πρώτο πράγμα που με ρωτάνε είναι πώς αντέδρασε ο πατέρας σας, τι είπε γι' αυτό.
And I have to admit, I never asked him the question what he thought about the film.
Και πρέπει να παραδεχτώ ότι ποτέ δεν του έκανα αυτή την ερώτηση, πώς ένιωσε για την ταινία.
But of course, I have my mother, and she's very close to him. So when we were screening the film for the first time, she said, I didn't hear him almost breathing during the entire screening, and he took my hand this way, and I felt him grabbing my hand, and I know that that he appreciated it enormously. I think Latin America in general, it's the continent of the future, and these words are not ridiculous. I really believe that Latin America is in some way the continent of the future. When I talk about Venezuela, I talk about Hugo Chavez, I talk about the Venezuelan people, I talk about Evo Morales, I talk about Lula, I talk about Correa in Ecuador. There is a movement of people who really take responsibility in a complete crazy world like Latin America, because they have been sued by the United States and Europe for 500 years, and now they're just fed up with it. So this relationship with my father was it's very unique to make a film in such a kind of relationship, but that was only a part of it. I had also months, I have been interviewing people with which I had a normal relationship, which were not my parents, which were just people with inspiration, with a message. So that was the major task. And then there is this little part in the film where I also worked together with my father. And there, for me, because I'm very close to my father, it was not really very complicated. My father, the most dangerous parts of his life were during the period when he was a priest. And so he was there alone. But he was not alone, because he felt the solidarity of thousands of people who supported him, who were together in this crazy, difficult situations. And the other thing is that when he met my mother and they decided to start with a family, it's also a responsibility my father took very seriously. But taking this responsibility was not completely in contradiction with his social commitment. He wanted to gather two things. He wanted to choose for a family, but in a responsible way, not being the revolutionary and la la la, I'm in the fiesta all the time, and my children, I don't care. No, he took his responsibility, but he tried to continue his social struggle by educating his children, and in the same time, also he was as a peace activist in Iraq. He took some risky things, but my mother and my father, yeah, that was not very easy during that period.
There, and why Venezuela and not some other country?
That's completely coincidence. He wanted to go to Peru, and he was not allowed to go to Peru, and then he ended up in Venezuela, and then they gave him responsibility in a little city, but of very rich people, and he said, I didn't came for that, and he went into the slums. When you have such a father who had so many experiences, in a lot of cases, important historical persons, when you watch them in their families and their sons or their daughters, they feel like in the shadow of their father, you know, like he is such a huge person and I'm only so limited and But the nice thing is about my father that he's not that kind of person, you know, he's not that kind of leader or he's not that kind of personality. And instead of feeling us being in the shadow of my father, we feel like as if he put it during his entire life, he put us in the spotlight. He gave us a chance to grow, to develop our own passions, and he supported us. So we didn't feel this pressure from we have to realize big things. He just invited us to do whatever we wanted to do. It was not under pressure. And I think it's about the positive energy which is in every human being, and when you can exchange it with each other, it becomes like a nuclear power. It becomes bigger and it gives possibilities. And I think that's the message of the film. And in some way, I really enjoyed it to have the possibility to interview all these people. For me, it was the university of life, as my father would say.